Welcome to our crazy lives
with Clay and Wanda. Welcome to the podcast. This is Clay.
And I'm Wanda.
And today we have our very special guest, Bobby.
Hi, I'm Bobby.
Do you want to
Hedglin
introduce
Taylor.
yourself?
I'm zooming in from Brooklyn, New York right now. And by trade, I'm an aerial sequence designer and trainer. I coach acrobats for Broadway shows and cruise ships and rock concerts and things like that. And I'm, that's kind of like my main thing. And during COVID last year, I wrote my first 2 books that are being published this year. So
That's interesting.
So I'm now an author.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I know your podcast is about laughter, so I will start by saying this is a little bit of a sad story, but it has a fun ending. So COVID hit. You remember this pandemic thing? So that hit last year, pretty bad in New York. I live in Queens, so I was in the epicenter, and they shut down the nursing homes, and my mom was in the nursing home, and my mom passed away from COVID. We believe it was from COVID 11 days later. And then the day after that, I woke up with COVID. I had 104 fever and no taste, no smell. I mean, I had no taste going into it. You know, I wear the same clothes every day. But, you know, the nurse was like, do you have any taste? I'm like, no, I have no taste. I wear the same stuff every day, jeans and a t-shirt. That's it. So yeah, mom passed, and my mother was a very funny person. My mother had a sense of humor. And so while I was recovering, a dear friend came out of the woodwork and said, she noticed, she was like, I know your mom just passed, but something's not right with you. Are you okay? And I hadn't shared on any social media that I had COVID at all. I didn't even share it with my boss until it was like absolutely necessary. And I said, yeah, COVID, I'm trying to heal from it, trying to stay low key, trying to, rest a lot. So she said, what's your address? And I gave her my address. The very next day, a box of herbs, liquid herbs, came from a farm in upstate New York, and they were all to boost your immune system. And within 3 days, I started to feel better. And in that clarity moment of not having that foggy headache, I said, I had these stories come back to me about my mom. And I said, I'm not able to have a funeral for my mom. So we had her cremated. We're going to have a funeral this year. But while I was trying to, just process her passing, I created a cookbook. And I started writing crazy stories. When my mom started to get sick, she was going back and forth to the ER. So I would go with her to just sit with her so that, she had dementia. So she didn't really know what was going on sometimes or why she was there, but she recognized me and I calmed her down and she would cooperate with the nurses. But I started writing all the stories that she was telling me. And I was like, well, I was like, Mom, what were my first words? And she said, your first words were fucking reindeer. And I was like, what? What? Am I allowed to say that on your podcast? Sorry, you're going to beep it? You're going to beep me out?
Sure.
So she told me the story of my first words. And I was like, this is comedic gold, because it sounded to me like, as she's telling me these different stories, it sounded to me like the movie Moonstruck and the movie Christmas Story were smushed together in this Italian family. I'm Italian, by the way. I don't know if I told you that. So I started writing her recipes down. Then I remembered spending time with my grandmother and writing her recipes. And then the stories just started to come like one after another. And I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that this was divine intervention, because I started writing and it was like a person possessed. And I'm not a writer, not an editor, and not a chef, but I wrote a cookbook. And it's a part memoir, part cookbook, but each chapter has like a short story leading into it. Like the Christmas cookie recipes that my grandmother and I used to do, the little story that is my first words, because fucking reindeer was my first words, and that happened around Christmas time. So if you want me to keep going, I'll tell you that story. If not, we can put it in later. But
oh no, you can keep going.
Oh, keep going. Okay, great. I could just keep rambling on. You have to press stop or pause or something. Raise your hand, like they do in the Zoom rooms now. When I was younger, when I was a toddler, I did not speak. I wouldn't speak. They thought I had some kind of. Oh, did we lose somebody?
Yeah, Wanda dropped off. She'll be back.
Okay, good. So I wouldn't speak. and they thought I had a speech impediment. They thought I was deaf. They couldn't figure out why I wasn't talking. I was just painfully shy. So my mother decorated the house for Christmas, and the way, she separated us. So we're sitting there, and of course we're probably sobbing, and looking at each other like an old John Wayne Western, ready to shoot the other person. And then we hear my grandmother's car pull up. And so in my toddler brain, all I could imagine my toddler brain was, my grandmother can get me that's my reindeer. That's my reindeer. I'm going to get that reindeer. And she pulls up, she opens the door. We run to the door, and I grab her skirt and speak my first words, Nana, Nana, fucking reindeer, pointing to the closet. So, and I was like, is my mother just, is she just crazy? And this is something she's made up. I talked to other relatives, and they're like, no, those were your first words, because we've heard the story before, that, and I was conceived on a beaver dam, so it's like, for some reason, my relatives know more about my mother's sex life than, so the stories kept coming, and they kept making me laugh. So I thought, this is a great way to immortalize my mom, my grandmother, my crazy upbringing in an Italian family on a mountaintop in Pennsylvania. And the way that I came up with the book title was, my grandfather and my great-grandfather bought plots of land on top of a mountain in Pennsylvania. My great-grandfather, my grandmother's father, had 13 children. My grandmother was the eldest of 13. And each one of his 13 children settled around him, and their families settled around them. So the entire mountain, the top of this hill, was all my relatives. So we never had a neighbor who wasn't a relative. So it was always, so Uncle Joey's to the right, and Aunt Beatrice is to the left. Across the street is Uncle Frankie. And, that was just my upbringing. But it kind of was a derogatory term back then, but people in my father's job used to call it Ravioli Mountain, because everyone's Italian, everyone's related. And so I was like, I'm going to spin that, because I remember it being called Ravioli Mountain. So I'm going to name the book Escape to Ravioli Mountain, a memoir in food. And so that's how it starts. It starts off with the history of the hill. And then as if you're sitting down to dinner at my table, I would always serve bread or and then bread dips with olive oil, and then the antipasto, then the salad, and then main course would be a baked pasta or a savory dish, or a large fish or something like that, and then desserts. And then, of course, I do a really wonderful infused alcohol. So I do my own limoncello, limecello. I also make my own peanut butter and chocolate vodka. So I make the best peanut butter. I'll send you the recipe, because it is phenomenal. It tastes just like a peanut butter cup. So I threw all that together, and that became the first book. And so it was really about what life was like on that hill in Pennsylvania. It was crazy, and it started with fucking reindeer with my first words. And then it went from there to the rest of the world. And then I left the hill. I left the mountain probably, I was 17. I didn't want to be around the crazy anymore, and I wanted to go to theater school. I wanted to go to New York, and I went to college for 4 years, and then I moved to New York. I got a full scholarship at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, and went there for 2 years. And then 6 months later, I got a job offer doing a circus musical, and they sent me to a circus coach. And then within 6 months, I was performing in nightclubs in New York City and small circuses, and being sent all over the country to do trapeze. And then I became a trapeze artist. So it was like, there's nothing linear about growing up on Ravioli Mountain and moving to New York and going to theater school, and then becoming a trapeze artist. So yeah, there's no real direct line to anything, but it's just, that was life. And that's how I survived my youth in Pennsylvania. And it became a book.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I just love the whole backstory and how it's leading up to you doing the book.
Yeah.
That just sounds so amazing.
Well, it was a very scary time. I'm not gonna minimalize it in any way. COVID was pretty scary, and having it was pretty scary as well because it's unlike any illness you've ever had. It is, you have high fevers, headaches, you can't think straight, you're coughing, your chest hurts. It was, your body aches and you can't even move sometimes. So it's very, very, it is very debilitating. And so I managed to get through that, and losing a parent is always it's always a it's always traumatic. Um, and with my mom, though, the second book that I wrote during COVID is called "Shit My Mama Says," and so the reason is it's a book of quotes. It's kind of like a coffee. I call it a coffee table book because in my mind it's going to be this beautiful big binded bound coffee table book with my mother's picture on the cover, giving the finger to the nurse at the nursing home. And that's but the thing is she moved up here she lived with me for about 2 years, and then the last 5 she ended up in the nursing home. And while she was dealing with dementia, she had, if you've ever watched The Golden Girls, she definitely was a Sophia Petrillo. She had no filter, no filter. She would say what's on her mind and didn't care. So I started to write those down, and I would share them on Facebook as a way to not only make myself laugh, but to let people in on what I was dealing with this crazy mom in the nursing home, and some of the shit my mama says. So I would use that hashtag each year: shit my mama says 2017, shit my mama says 2018. And then I thought that's a great way to immortalize her. And also for people who are dealing with relatives who have dementia, they say some fucked up shit. Okay, they do. And an 80-year-old woman, one of the things that just struck me, she's like, Bob, I don't like these male nurses when they're helping you on the John. I got to tell them, hey, whatever you're going to see, it's not the old fashioned model. This is the 80-year-old model you're going to see. So she's talking about her privates. And so there are little things like that. They're little, each page is like Mary Lou wisdom. My mother's Mary Lou. And it starts off with just a little bit of her story. And then each page is, and it's chronological, the way that I put them together, so that they start with her being more lucid and just being herself. And then towards the middle of the book, you realize that some of these are a little off because Mary Lou is not the same person. And then by the end of the book, she's well into her dementia phase, but she still knew me. She didn't have Alzheimer's. There's a big difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's patients, if you show them keys, they don't know what keys are for. A person with dementia, they see keys, they know what they're for, but they just can't remember which key goes where. So it's like it's a different way that it attacks your brain. And so Mom had that. Mom had she had a way with words. She was a philosopher in her own right, and she was a very funny lady. So I wanted to immortalize her. Even if it doesn't sell, it will be a great way to honor her memory at the funeral, because I didn't get a chance to have a funeral because COVID hit and every funeral parlor had a refrigerator truck out front, and they were all backed up. So it was like they were not even offering the opportunity for in-person viewings. And my mother wanted to be buried next to my father in Pennsylvania, so there was no way we could transport the body over state lines. We were in lockdown. So it was easier to have her cremated, and then I'll bury the ashes in on her birthday, August 7th is her birthday. So that'll be the perfect day this summer to have her funeral. So, and she's always looking for her keys and her purse. So we're burying her in the container, but it's going to go inside of her purse, and her purse is going to be there for forever. We're going to make it a Mary Lou time capsule, and she will be buried right next to my father, and be at rest, be at peace. But her message was always, you've got to laugh every day. You've got to find a way to laugh every day. Oh my God, find a way. It's the only way we can get through the crazy times. It's the only way we can get through the insanity that's going on over the past year. because it really is insane, when you think about what we've all been gone through. How were things in Pennsylvania and Colorado for you guys? Was it really, really bad, or barely noticed, or?
It's, well, it mainly got bad like down towards Philadelphia and that area, but then it slowly worked its way over to us. But now they're slowly
Mhm.
opening stuff back up. And then I really hate seeing like the articles saying like if you're vaccinated, you can gather with other vaccinated people without a mask on, because then you've got these idiots out there that think it's okay to just go and no one's gonna know. So then
Right,
they're gonna go and
right.
spread this all over again, and it's just some of this like they contradict things, and it's never gonna be okay until it's okay, and you can't just the whole like don't wear your you don't have to wear your mask if you're vaccinated type of thing. You can still carry the germ, you can still spread it, you can
Right.
still get it. It's not going to prevent all of it, but it's gotten better. But I feel like with them opening things up as much as they have been, and with the whole the mask issue and being slacked and everything, like I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
We're just coming out of it here. It's very, very slow though. We still have everybody on the train wears masks. At work, everybody wears masks. We social distance. We don't hug. We don't
Yeah.
touch. And
Well, I think the mask thing, I think it should all be out of respect for other people too. But you still got people thinking, well, I'm not being controlled by the government. I don't have to do it.
oh God,
Exactly. But it's just the fact like if you don't want to do it for yourself because you don't want to do it for the other people that are around you, because you're helping them not get the disease too. But people don't look
right.
at it that way, and they just would rather be
Mm-mm.
selfish. That's just me with my
Yeah.
anger towards them.
Well, no, I'm right there with you. Honestly, I'm right there with you because we are in we're in such a weird place and I'm right alongside you because I just, they're saying, oh, you can be with other people who are vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated right now, but I still have not I've only taken my mask off once with another vaccinated person, and we were sitting in the park and we were 6 feet apart. And we're both fully vaccinated, and it's been 2 weeks. But yeah, it's like, it's got to be something. Someone has to give somewhere, and just because it's because that the vaccine is rolled out doesn't mean it's gone. People are still dying.
Hmm.
People are still getting it. So, um, I don't understand that mentality, and I hate that it was fueled by the fans of the anti-maskers, the anti-vaccinators, and all that. And I just like let
Yes.
people. Yeah, it's like this is the only thing. Because when you go to when you during lockdown, if you went to the ER and you didn't enter the ER in an ambulance, if you walked up to the door, they wouldn't let you in. They would tell you to go
Yeah.
home. They would tell you to call your GP. You can breathe and you can walk. There are people who are dying in the hallways, and we're putting them on a gurney and giving them Tylenol because they don't have anything until they can't breathe, absolutely can't breathe on their own, and then they have to be on a ventilator. Um,
Yeah.
it's awful, and so yeah, we maybe have been hit harder in New York than any other place, but I find that the spread seem to be the cities that have all of the major airport hubs: Philadelphia, New York, Atlanta, um, Austin,
Yeah.
Chicago, LA, San Francisco. Those are the biggest. Those are the biggest surges because those are where most of the people travel to. So, um, but here's the thing. I'm doing it for myself and I'm doing it for other people. I'm going to keep my mask on as long as I can. I may just keep the mask on every time I go on the train, even if they remove the mask mandate, just because it's that's a petri dish underground in New York City. If you've ever been on a subway in New York City, it's
Yeah.
basically
It's
it's a
scary.
mechanical petri dish. So
Yep.
but yeah. And how about you, Clay? In Colorado, right? Is that
No,
where you
I'm in
are?
Phoenix.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Same thing,
oh my
Colorado,
goodness,
Phoenix.
it was crazy here.
Some
It's a jump
No,
across the border.
some square state.
well, well, here in Phoenix,
Oh my.
it's Republican Central, but
Oh,
it was like a apocalyptic movie because Phoenix became like the
mm.
number one hotspot in the world, and it was crazy when the governor completely locked the state down. They had like police roaming everywhere, making sure no one was outside. Like it was crazy.
Mm.
And me being a government worker, I had to go to work. And so it was very strange driving on the interstate where you'd have hundreds of cars and you're the only car.
Oh my God. Yeah, there were times when I would take the subway and there would be nobody in the car for stop after stop after stop. And now it's like now there's just a few people at a time in the subway. And then there was only one time that I felt a little uncomfortable because it was just too many people that were sitting close to each other and either had the mask on the chin or the nose was exposed. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to get off at the next stop, wait for the next train because I just this one's just a little too crowded for me. And I think that's a little PTSD from all of us that actually give a shit. We have give a shit PTSD. So it's like we had this traumatic and dramatic experience, and we took it to heart because we care about people. And there are other people who could care less, and they only care about themselves. And it's pretty sad though. Yeah, I have a friend who lives in Phoenix, and he told me a lot about it, and he was quite worried because they were also saying that the demographic was men in their 50s were one of the highest demographic of getting COVID.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a man in my 50s, so and I had it. So, but yeah, now that the vaccine's rolling out, people are feeling a little bit more comfortable, and so I hope that people, if you can get it, get it. You're saving your life and you're saving someone else's in the long run.
Yeah, because it's still going around because I have a coworker who is the office beside mine, and her husband just confirmed that they had COVID yesterday.
Oh God.
Yeah, and then we're all like, what are we going to do? Because we've all been fully vaccinated. Well, I have. A lot of people at work refuse it. And it's just been strange because even before the vaccine, like everybody was testing positive around me, and I was the only one that wasn't catching COVID. And I'm like, is there something going on with me?
Well, the thing that is very interesting, when I got the vaccine, well, I mean, I got sick and we didn't have COVID tests. They were not readily available, and they were only giving them out to so many people. That's why they didn't even have COVID tests in my mother's nursing home. So I didn't even bother to go for a test because I knew I was sick, and I knew whatever I had, I was going to spread by going for a freaking COVID test. So I just hunkered down, and then when I got better, I kept in touch with my GP, and then I finally had my blood work done in August of 2020, and yes, I had antibodies. So it's a possibility that you may have had it in maybe had a lesser form of it, and your body has a natural immunity to it, or you just weren't exposed to enough of it. But when I got my first vaccine, I had horrible side effects. I was sick for 3 days with the side effects, and all of them were the ones that were the Pfizer standard, headache, fever, what do you call it? Lymph node swelling and sore throat, whatever they were. I had every single one of them for 3 days. And then the second dose was maybe 8 hours. I had a little bit of discomfort and felt like I was just tired. And then I tested again in December, and I still had the antibodies in December. So I had tested twice for antibodies, and they were further apart since I had COVID. They were saying that you only had the antibodies for 3 months, and I had them from March through August, March through December, and so they think I may have still had antibodies already. when I got the first vaccine. That's why I had such a adverse reaction to it. But yeah, it's rolling out, and the city's slowly opening. We're trying very hard to stay on top of things and make sure that we keep washing your hands, socially distant, all the good stuff. Just don't be a dick. It's just
Yeah.
so. But yeah, so I also, like through the course of the pandemic, I'm an officiant. So I did 5 weddings, both on Zoom and in person. So that was really fun. I got to make a little bit of extra cash by officiating weddings in New York, and on Zoom, which was a totally unique experience doing a Zoom wedding in Portland, Oregon, and then I did some voiceover work. Some really fun stuff came my way. Just simple stuff, little miniature gigs and things like that. But I do character voices a lot, and I do impressions and singing impressions. So I did a lot of stuff on Zoom for different places that hired me out. So I can send you the YouTube link. But I sing "Let It Go" as 14 different people, and yeah. I start with Eric Cartman from South Park and then go from there. So it's really fun. It's fun to play in those, it's fun to just be able to be creative. And one of the things that came up in one of my podcast interviews recently was that somebody called me, they said, "You're the multi-hyphenated-artist." And I said, "I'm going to use that because that really, you've seen my one sheet. It's actually a 12 sheet. But yeah, you're like, yeah, Bobby, the King of TMI. But I want people to understand that, yes, I've had a very good life and a very good career. And yes, I'm promoting my book. That's why I'm trying to get used to talking to people about my upbringing and not be ashamed of, being from a poor family but doing all that I have done. So I've been able to, perform in Madison Square Garden with the band Fish. I worked on Broadway. I worked off Broadway. I worked in national tours and circuses, and all this, this little Italian kid from Pennsylvania, all of that rolled into one is the multi-hyphenated Bobby Hedglin Taylor. And so when I read that, I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to use that. That's a good one, So, when I started doing circus and trapeze and things like that, my entire world opened up in a different way because I had been an actor for so long, and then going to school for acting, and then coming to New York, and then every audition, you're there in the waiting room, and you either get the gig or you're out with the rejects. Well, I was mostly out with the rejects until I started putting trapeze on my resume, and they would stop and they would say, "Well, tell us about this trapeze." Well, and then I would get 5 extra minutes in the room with the casting people. And then I started to get more work in theater. And so I started going on the road with musicals and things like that. And then I was doing both. I was doing circus and theater at the same time. And then when I moved back to New York, I had moved to San Francisco for a while to train and teach at the Circus Center out there. And when I came back to New York, I started to combine the two. I started combining theater and circus, and I basically created my own career as what I call a circus and aerial sequence designer, in which basically, if you've seen any musical where somebody is being hoisted up in the air either by wires or they're on a circus apparatus like a hoop or some fabric or some of the things you see in Cirque du Soleil, that's what I got to do. And then, that led to me working on 3 different Broadway shows. And I trained a lot of brilliant people that are known for their comedy, their acting, or their singing. And I gave them another skill, like Andrea Martin, if you remember her from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I taught her how to do trapeze. I was her first trapeze coach. Tova Feldshuh, who was in The Walking Dead, I taught her trapeze. So it's like I got a chance to share that with people after a while, and that's what really, it's been a journey, and that's why I try to to try to connect the dots with the book so that people get an idea of what it was like to grow up in a crazy Italian family, as well as learn some of these great recipes like my peanut butter chocolate vodka, which I learned at Burning Man, by the way. So, that was the most fun ever. Okay, Burning Man story. So are you both familiar with what Burning Man is?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not.
No, okay. So Burning Man's kind of like it's called a social experiment, and it happens in the desert 3 hours out of Reno in the Black Rock City desert. And 70,000 people descend on this dust bowl and create a city for 1 week. And they create these enormous art sculptures out of wood, out of steel. They light up. They talk. They some of them move, and it's similar to the old Druid custom of burning your effigy on the New Year. So it's kind of like Celtic New Year. So it's close to the fall. It's always the Labor Day weekend. Anyway. So this event happens, and it's very, very open. There's lots of nudity. There's lots of people driving around on their bikes. There's drugs. There's sex. There's all kinds of things. I mean, it's a wild party. There's lots of dancing and dance clubs. Every camp has their own bar. So it really is. It's a big party, but it's also very spiritual for some people. There's two big events that happen during the Burning Man week. The Saturday night is when they burn the man effigy, and everybody from the 70,000 people from camp circle around this giant man. Whatever the sculpture is, it's designed by an artist every year. And then it's burned, and they use explosives and things like that. So it's pretty intense. That's the party night. And then we have what we call the temple, and the temple is something more solemn where you let go of the past year, you let go of people that have passed on, you write memos on the wood, and then they burn it, and it's burnt in complete silence, and that's the close of the festival. It's close of the event. So I learned how to infuse alcohol at Burning Man. So my first year, I went with a camp that was very queer friendly. Oh, by the way, do I have to come out? I'm gay, by the way. Yeah. Well, Clay, you knew my friend Joel, so Joel actually helped me come out. So, I ended up going to Burning Man. A student and friend bought me my ticket and said, "You're coming to camp with us. You're gonna love it." So I get there, and my eyes are just like wide open. It's like everything is lit up. There are people everywhere. Everybody's got lights on their body. They're wearing multicolored fur coats because it's cold. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like camping on Mars with hippies. And, so I'm like, what the hell? So there's a thing on Wednesday of every burn week, and it's basically called the Naked Pub Crawl. And there's like 20 or 30 bars in each. They're like each camp has their own bar, and you don't pay for anything either. There's no bartering or anything. It's a gifting society, so people just gift. So each camp brings extra alcohol and makes drinks for everybody. And so you go on the Naked Pub Crawl. You get on your bike. You're naked, and you're driving from camp to camp, getting hammered. And so my camp was the last camp on the list. And they asked if anybody knew how to bartend. If we wanted to participate, we could bartend. I was like, I'll bartend. And they're like, okay, you have to be naked, but we want you in some kind of a costume, because people get dressed up at Burning Man. It's always not necessarily a Halloween costume, but it's more like a hippie vibe. But it's also it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like fashion, like I wear these cool long fur coats, that kind of thing when I'm out there, because they're really lightweight, but they're warm because it gets really cold at night in the desert. You wouldn't know it, but it goes down into the 40s every night, and it's in the hundreds during the day. So you're in your underwear during the day, or you're naked and you're wearing a fur coat at night because it's cold. So I'm bartending, but they said dress up. So I found this really cute unicorn costume. So it was a unicorn head, and the horn of the unicorn would sing if you touched it. It would play music, and I had this big bushy tail. And so I was like, okay, that's me. I'm a unicorn. I might as well be one in the desert. So I'm bartending naked, and we run out of vodka. And so the tent is maybe 50 yards away. So I go to the tent to get the vodka. And as I'm walking to the tent, a red vehicle drives up, and it has a cage, and it's pulling a cage. 6 or 7 guys with human-sized nets jump out, scream, "Unicorn!" Net me, throw me in the cage. And I'm in there with two girls dressed as bunnies, and a little boy dressed he wasn't a boy, 20-year-old, but he was tripping on acid and he was dressed as a bear. So we're in this cage, naked, and they're driving around Burning Man. So the camp was called Animal Control, and if they see you dressed as an animal or wearing different animal, garb, they will pick you up and bring you back to their camp to party with them. So I got abducted by Animal Control. So we get to Animal Control, and they start giving us peanut butter chocolate martinis. And I think I had about 12 because they were delicious. But then you can't leave until they have to auction you off, and somebody has to walk you back to your camp. So I'm like, this could be really interesting. So the two bunnies, they get bought right away, people, promising blowjobs and whatever. And so they're like, they're gone. Then the little bear, they just let him go because he was really tripping bad. And he had it was so funny because he had the little bear ears and a tutu, and he was the most adorable thing. But I was like, honey, you need to go home. So let him go. Then it comes to the unicorn. So I'm there, and they're like, and they start a bidding war, and people are like, we want the unicorn. So all the way in the back of the room, there are these two lesbians from Denver, and they just happen to be big supporters of PETA and big supporters of the ASPCA. And they get into a bidding war with this man down front who definitely, he looked like Jeffrey Dahmer. And I was like, please, give it to the lesbians, And so they start bidding, and they're like, hey, I have my checkbook. I'm going to make a donation in the name of Animal Control Camp for the unicorn. And they wrote out the check, and they bought the unicorn. And Pat and Carol, lesbians from Denver, walked me back to my tent, back to my camp. But before I left, though, I was like, I asked, how do you make the infused vodkas? And they showed me that it's this really cool process that they do in the desert. It takes very little time. You put Ziploc bags filled with peanut butter powder and vodka on the roof of a car, and within 2 days, it's peanut butter vodka. You just strain it, and then it tastes like really strong peanut butter vodka. And then you cut it with creme de cacao and some sugar and some milk, and it tastes like a peanut butter cup. So I took that recipe and I put it in my book for that very reason. But yeah, so Burning Man is really fun. I love my time out there. I've been going ever since 2013, and I'm hoping to go again this year. It's we don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know what the summer is going to be like. I don't know what September is going to be like. So. It's kind of goes back to, we just don't know what the rest of the world is doing, and these variants with COVID that come up, no one's really talking about how, are they, what they are, or how people are dealing with them and where they are. So it's just, I don't think it's over, and I don't think it's time to do a big party, but maybe by the end of the summer we'll be able to. So
yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, I talk a lot. So what do you have? I just have lots of stories, and I'm part of my life is being a storyteller as well. I like to translate my experience to give other people joy, and that's just it's like making people laugh is like. I don't need heroin. I just need people to laugh, because as soon as people laugh, I'm addicted, and that's my heroin. I love had that control over an audience to just be able to make them chuckle. So
it's definitely interesting information that you in the stories and stuff. It definitely was something.
Well, I feel like there is everybody's got a different trajectory in their life. And yeah, you make choices in life that give you different avenues. And I've taken many pivots, In 11 days, I'm going to take another pivot and get hip replacement. So that's a huge thing in my world that I'm, starting to process. So I'm here for it. We'll see what happens. I just want to be out of pain and not living on opioids,
And the good thing is Wanda now knows what Burning Man is.
Hey,
There you
I
go.
live under a rock.
So-
I'm sorry.
No, and you're a mom, right, Wanda?
Yes,
How many kids?
I have 4 and 3 step.
Wow. You have a full Brady Bunch.
I do. We're
Wow.
all being homeschooled.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you have lots of edibles at home.
I wish I did. I might need the vodka.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the recipe because it's actually really good. And what I do with my recipes, I send the recipes out to friends, and I have them try it out and see that, hey, are the proportions right? Does it taste good? Are you, did you enjoy it? That kind of thing. And, people give me their honest opinion. I do make adjustments to my recipes, so I don't mind sending it out. Yeah. And any flavor, almost any flavor, you can get into a vodka or a bourbon. Vodka is pretty easy. It's a pretty, very, very low flavor profile. And you can do stuff with lemon zest, lime zest, orange zest, and put it in vodka for 5 days, and then you have orange vodka. And
Now, is that the easiest thing to use because it has no taste
yeah,
to start with?
yeah, you can use gin. Gin already is treated. Gin is basically vodka that's been treated with juniper berries. So you have the juniper flavor, but things like lime and mint go great with gin. So you can put mint leaves and lime zest and make lime mint gin. But bourbon has bourbon has different layers of flavor because it's barrel aged, and so you get the smokiness from the barrel depending on how long it's been aged and type of distilling. So it's harder to manipulate the bourbon flavor than it is to do something like vodka or gin. But I haven't had one fail. They've all been pretty good. I've done there. I think there are, my favorite is strawberry basil lemon vodka, and that one is delicious. And that one makes really good strawberry lemonade. So they're little rest. There's depending on the flavor profile you're going for. It's fairly easy to make creme de cacao. You just get cacao nibs and vodka, and then sugar, and that's it. And it's like the sweet syrup that you get when you make creme de cacao. And you mix it. You can do. You can also do the same thing with. With my limoncello and limecello, I just use either grappa or vodka with lemon zest or lime zest, and then a little bit of simple syrup, and it's an after dinner cocktail. So you can make tons of different things like that. So, and I talk about that in the book as well. I can't wait for them to be published. They're both going to be published around the same time, around Mom's funeral. So it'll be really good to get that out into the world. And then, I don't know if I'd write another one, but I might. I just know that the process of writing was easy. The process of editing and publishing is, it's an entire industry in its own. And if you don't know how to navigate that, you can get taken by so many people definitely in the wrong way. So I've been really, really lucky that I have really good people in my life that, sort of guide me. My friend Susie, who is also, we are Burning Man friends, but she's lived around the corner from me at least 10 years, and I saw her more this past year because we looked out for each other, and we went for walks together. We would sit in my garage and have socially distant cocktails, and just to like open the garage door if it was nice out, and then I'd make some snacks, and then I'd sit us 6 feet apart, and we'd have the drink du jour, whatever it was. But she also is an author, so she became a mentor as well. But I also felt like it was one of the things that brought her closer, was that, she's like family to me now. And, so we really look out for each other in that way. And it's nice. It's nice that, certain things that were really traumatic, that took things away from us from the pandemic. There are successes. I just bought a book. My friend Dave Paris was in the ER and then the ICU for 88 days, and he was on a ventilator for 30 days. He had a 2% chance to live, and he lived. And he danced the salsa with his nurse on his last day leaving the hospital. And he just published his book.
Oh, wow.
It's called A COVID Story, but it's fascinating because this is a man who was super healthy and ended up getting COVID and could have died from it and just wasn't ready to go. And he's thriving now. So I'm very proud and happy that he's still with us. So, and he's also a character. He and his, I believe it's his girlfriend or his wife, they were on America's Got Talent together. And they do a partner dance where they lift each other over their heads. It's an old school circus act we call Hand to Hand. But Dave is kind of stocky. He's like me. He's kind of got broad shoulders, and his wife is very tiny, and she would lift him. And that's when the audience would lose their mind, because they were both super strong and they both did this beautiful act. And then, we were all distraught when he was sick, but then he got better. So, and now he's a book. So, there are some good things to come out of COVID. I hope that, we don't ever have to go back into quarantine and go back into Zoom land. I don't ever want to sit in another Zoom meeting again if I don't have to.
Well, I just love all of your stories, and just hearing about your books coming out. I can't wait to read them.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Well, I am going to send one as soon as everything's published, I'm sending one to every podcast I've been on. So I'll send one to both of you of each book. I'll sign them. And, when they're done, I believe Shit My Momma Says will probably be the first one to come out, probably around my birthday in June. And then the cookbook maybe towards the end of the summer. I really have a lot of work to do on the cookbook with the editing. The editors are magicians, and they are gods of grammar. And I just, my hat is off to them, because I'm not an editor and I'm not a writer, but they're making my writing look better. So I'm happy to have that available. So, but yeah, I will definitely send you guys one. And, I'm launching the website for the book next month. So that I'm building my mailing list right now. That's why I'm doing a lot of podcast interviews right now, so I can just get the word out. People are interested to see who I am. And then also I have a new musical that I'm working on that's coming hopefully to Broadway. It's about female superheroes. It's called Super You, and it's a very female empowering musical. It's got great rock music. You can find them on Instagram at Super You Musical, and they share music. They share the cast album, and when we can get into theater again, I'll be flying some people over the stage. So hopefully we will have hopefully we'll have Broadway come back, and I can get back to work on that.
Yeah, I hope so.
We can go to that.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, I can't wait. We've done a couple of versions of the show over the past couple of years. It's changed names. There's a very famous musical called Six that's on Broadway that will reopen, but it's about the 6 wives of Henry VIII as told through a Spice Girls type rock concert. So we had a little bit of competition there, because we have 6 superheroes in our show as well. So they really had to redesign it so that it was not in any way familiar with Henry VIII's 6 wives. Yeah, I want Broadway to come back. I want theater to come back. I need theater to come back, and in-person performances again. It really, like that. Like I said, I didn't mind performing on Zoom, but there's nothing like hearing a live audience laugh at your jokes or laugh at your voice, or laugh to hear Eric Cartman yelling at Kermit the Frog in the middle of a song, that kind of thing, so that also is like I said, that's my heroine. I need my heroine back. I want my theater back. I want my live audiences back, and stand up and comedy clubs and just entertain people again.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Wanda, do you have anything?
I don't. I'm good. I just was very entertained by the whole story that he told the entire time, and I'm very looking forward to reading his book.
Same here.
Thank you, and thank you so much, and thanks for having me. And let me know when this comes out, and I'll share it with my friends on all my social media, and get some spread some love.
Well, we appreciate it, and have a good night.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Our Crazy Lives with Clay and Wanda, brought to you by Anchor.fm. You can visit our website at ourcrazylivesofclayandwanda.com. You can head over to our YouTube channel, search for Our Crazy Lives with Clay and Wanda. Our Instagram, you can find us at Crazy Lives of Clay and Wanda. And our Twitter is at Crazy Lives of CW. And our theme music song is See Me Through.